Yo, 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 what is going on, people? Welcome to Throwdown Your Questions, episode 501. I'm your host, Tony Polanco, and tonight I'm joined by Emilio Lopez.
What's up, people? How's it going? You know what? For 2 seconds, I was thinking he was going to say 502, but that's next week.
That's next week. Carlos Romero.
Yo, yo, yo.
Richard Bailey Jr.
What's up, everybody?
And Brian Manjoma.
What's up? What's up?
Right, guys, back with another one. No Chris action. He's feeling under the weather. And Brett is seeing, what is it, Manny?
He's seeing Beetlejuice.
There you go.
There you go.
Yeah.
Two.
And Brett wasn't on the Thursday show because he was also feeling under the weather.
Oh, Brett was on the show.
Oh, was he? Oh, shit.
Yeah, he was on the show. Just little bits here and there.
Yeah.
You know,
yeah, he texted me. Yeah, he texted me. He's like, hey, man, I need to call out tonight. And it was like 2:30 where I was, so I didn't see that, you know. But anyway, thank you guys for holding it down while I was in Germania, you know.
Yeah. It was a lot of not mini tons, but we blasted through that show pretty quickly. It was only about an hour and 30. So we had
that's not quickly. That's a normal
show.
Episode. What are you
That's
talking
a mini
about?
show. Usually, man, we usually go like 2 hours.
No, then you went like 75% of a normal show. That's not mini. A mini would be 30 minutes, you know. So that's a normal episode. Good stuff. But yeah, let's get into it. But I'm pretty sure you guys talked about Concord, which is we're going to be talking about that again because controversy.
Yeah, I mean, you know, last week was the day that Concord died and when Astro Bot lived.
Yes. Segway Kings. Let's get into the first question. Who is this guy? Ramu Death? I think he may have been in Berlin too. You know, so welcome back, sir. So he starts us off tonight with a question. Astro Bot just released a critical and audience acclaim. It is currently one of the best reviewed games of 2024. Does it have what it takes to win Game of the Year at this year's various game shows? Also, what do you guys make of the controversy surrounding its alleged 6-hour playtime? For no reason whatsoever, I'll start off, you know? So, yes, Astro Bot dropped on Friday. Little fun thing for you guys. So, I actually got my review code of this game like over a week ago. But since I was going to Berlin, I'm like, I don't want to just start this game, then not play for a week, and then come back to it. So, I just focus all my efforts on Marvel vs. Capcom, which is fucking amazing. I could say that. I think the embargo's already lifted. Yes, it is lifted. It's great. You know, no surprise there. So Astro Bot, I played a good chunk of it. But okay, first of all, we'll get to the Game of the Year stuff in a bit. I gotta say this. I am not surprised that this game's already controversial. Every single fucking exclusive that drops, especially Sony exclusives, I get very high praise, are always accused of, you know, whatever nonsense. But yeah, so far, because, you know, again, the accusation is this game's only 6 hours long. I'm pretty sure it probably is if you just speed run through it, but I'm, you know, doing every single thing. I've done like 2 worlds and half of the like hidden galaxies, and I'm 6 hours in. I'm like, bro, if this keeps going, this game's going to be like 12 hours long, which is pretty good for a game of this length, you know, of this caliber.
I think they said the game is 15.
Yeah, but that's not what fanboys are accusing this game of, obviously.
Which fanboys?
You know who. I'll give you a clue, man. I'll give you a clue, man. It's not Nintendo, guys.
The ones that bleed green?
Yes. Also, here's what I love. Again, I'm guessing you guys haven't seen this. I love how I go to another fucking country and I'm still seeing dumb Twitter shit. It's hilarious.
It's because you're looking at Twitter.
Yeah, that's true. So the main thing was this game is 6 hours long, getting praised, yet Hellblade is 6 hours long, and it got snubbed. I'm like, are you guys fucking kidding me? Really? You know, so that's the drama that's been going on right now. It's like, oh, you guys, you're paying $60 for a 6 hour game. Meanwhile, we got this, we got that, we got full games. You know, like the usual fanboy bullshit. You know, it's hilarious. So, Rich, I don't know if you've seen any of that silliness on Twitter because you're on Twitter as much as I am, so I'm pretty sure you've caught some of this nonsense.
Well, I actually haven't been on Twitter the last few days.
Oh,
but,
good for you.
I definitely believe it. I think some people need to have their heads examined if they are complaining about the length of the game. And that comparison to Hellblade is complete garbage because this game is actually creative. They have a lot of creativity in how they lay out this game. So, yeah, that's a very dumb comparison. Whoever made that one.
Yeah, no silliness. Go ahead.
I can also confirm with Tony. This game is. I've also been playing this game. This game is longer than 6 hours. You got to be really good and rushing everything to maybe even get 6 hours. I'm 5 hours in, and I'm 2.5 worlds through, and the Lost Galaxy. I'm maybe like 3 or 4 of those stages through, and I'm still nowhere near completing the game. So that whole narrative, I haven't heard about it, but it being 6 hours is completely bogus. Do not pay attention to that. Also, the comparisons being made to Hellblade are also ridiculous, like Rich mentioned, because this is actually a game.
Yes,
like it's like you actually do a lot of things. Hellblade is just kind of like it's an experience. It's more of an experience than it is a game. There are game aspects to it, of course. There's the combat aspects that you get when you play it, but those are few and far between. And Astro Bot, it's just nothing but that's all you do is just play the game.
Yeah, it's nothing but gameplay, exactly. And speaking about the gameplay, just like you, I'm loving it, man. Again, I really like the Astro Bot's playroom. And, and I've talked about this before on the show. Back in the day, my two main genres were fighting games and platformers. We don't really get platformers outside of Nintendo anymore. There's a couple here and there, but Nintendo has kind of like they're the ones that really dominate this stuff. So it's kind of nice to, again, play a platformer that's like away from the tyranny of Nintendo in that respect. But I've also seen those comparisons too. It's like, we're like, oh, this game proves that we need a Switch too. I'm like, why? We're like, oh, what does one have to do with the other? Very strange comparison there. But the game's a blast, and just like the pack-in game for PS5, it's a love letter to PlayStation. Not only PlayStation, but like PlayStation associated third-party games too. Fucking Metal Gear's in here, Devil May Cry, Resident Evil, Street Fighter, all that good stuff. It's a fun game, man. And some of those challenge levels are pretty brutal, which is nice, Not super hard. Like I wish they were a little bit tougher. But they test you, because if you die, you got to go all the way back and shit. The main levels are, not too difficult, but they can't they could be tricky if you're not good with motion control shit. But yeah, no, it's a great time. It's one of those games that reminds you of why you started playing video games in the first place. It's just pure fun, no BS. Yeah. But yeah, it's great. It's fantastic. Go ahead.
Me and Tony have, several years ago went at lengths to praise Mario Odyssey because it was just so much fun and goes back to the reason why we love video games and part of our roots. And this follows it. And we've been waiting for Odyssey too, but this is a worthy partner in the realm of platformers to keep us by in that meantime. Yeah, I like Tony said, it's a love letter to Sony.
Yep.
I really appreciate how Astro Bot and the team that what is it, Asobi,
yeah.
And how they incorporate everything PlayStation, including by far nobody does it better. Incorporate the DualSense into the video game. It's incredible the way they do it. Within the sounds, the feedback, everything is just perfect. So got to give a shout out to that team. And there's been I saw an article talking about how this is a video game made by 60 people with not a huge budget.
Yeah.
And look what they made. A great game that's getting great reviews, and we're talking about it right now. Segway Kings, a potential to win Game of the Year.
Yeah, So that's going to be interesting because with all the praise this game's getting, I wouldn't be surprised if Jeff Keighley gives it some acknowledgement. It may even be nominated. Will it win? I'm not sure. Even though as much as I'm loving it, I personally wouldn't give it Game of the Year. But it's a lot of fun, man. But I wouldn't be surprised if it does win. But obviously, if it does win, you know what'll happen on Twitter. The conspiracies. You're already hearing about journalists have been paid off. That whole nonsense, Me and Carlos haven't been paid off.
Here's the funny thing that journalists have been paid off thing. It has absolutely no basis in fact.
And none,
It has no basis in fact.
Yet these are the same people that'll turn around. And so I don't trust these journalists. I trust influencers who are actually paid off.
Yeah, they're actually paid. They're actually paid to play these games. So
sometimes by foreign governments.
Yeah, sometimes by foreign governments. Sometimes here's the thing. Like I don't understand why it always ends up being this conspiracy of that the journalists are getting paid off. And especially journalists are getting paid off, but then were they getting paid off when they gave Concord good ratings?
Well, that's what they've been saying too. It's like, they were paid off too. They gave that game good ratings,
Yeah, but it didn't do. But I don't know. Like what then? What are they paying every single person who bought a PlayStation off? Who bought the game and they're playing it now and enjoying it? Are they all talking out of their asses? Come on, guys. Just leave. You guys, you got Xbox folks. You got your shit. You got your things that you need to do. You got the greatest deal in gaming, according to every single person out there. Were all the journalists? Were all the journalists also in cohesion on that too? Because a lot of journalists were saying that too. Here's the thing.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, it's interesting how it always ends up being that they're getting paid off to do something. How about the fact that maybe a lot of people in the journalist space think very much alike, right?
Yeah.
And you will find across the board that you will find very similar ideas, with the exception of a scant few, right?
Yeah. I wish I was paid off. I was living in the projects while I was a fucking game journalist, But you know how many times I've been accused of being paid off my entire career, bro. So. That's always a running joke with me and the other journalists. Like, I wish I was paid off. I'd be living better. You motherfuckers really think journalists live high, lavish lives? No, they fucking don't.
Those are newspaper journalists, real journalists.
And even those guys ain't getting that much money, Yeah. Especially the newspaper guys, Go ahead, Carlos.
But that's the prestige role,
Yeah, and going back to Concord, the Metacritic I'm looking at is a 62 for that game.
Brutal.
If there was ever a game to pay off to praise it, it would have been that one.
So, with Carlos, but maybe Sony decided, let's not pay him for that game. Let's pay him for this one.
So let's pay off the one where it's actually the good game. You know, look at not the bad one where we actually need that good PR. But no, they did it. They did it to that one, and Concord is now dead, and it's a massive failure for Sony.
Yeah, absolutely.
Failure. Strategy.
The one thing I would call can say is somewhat of a kind of a conspiracy theory, and I don't really believe that this is true. But Concord was literally canceled on the same day that Astro's Playroom came out, the 6th. That's when they closed their servers.
And what's the conspiracy?
The conspiracy is did Sony do that on purpose?
Oh.
Couldn't they have just kept it around a little longer, or maybe they didn't like the stink that game was making all over the place and just cut their losses? Don't know.
Yeah, but either way, Astro Bot, fun game. Go play it. It's a blast. Anybody else have any thoughts before we move on?
No, it's a good game.
Yeah,
try it out. If you got a PlayStation right now, go play it.
Yeah, go ahead, Rich.
Phenomenal game. The last point I will say is I do expect it to get nominated for Game of the Year, but I do not think it's going to win that award. So we'll have to wait and see.
Yeah, I think something else might get it.
Yeah, I think so.
No,
yeah.
It's almost like a cartoon like Beauty and the Beast winning the best
movie,
best film award.
Yeah.
You know what's gonna happen? Astro's probably gonna, if anything, Astro is probably going to get the best adventure game, action adventure game category.
Yeah, it'll win something for sure. And I think it will also be nominated for Game of the Year. I think it will be nominated at least.
I think something else will be in
Concord, baby.
I mean, like there is talk. Like people are talking about Wukong being a Game of the Year contender. Same thing with Stellar Blade. Be interesting.
This has been a weak year for top line video games.
Yeah, the Syrian Air Force asked a good question. What are the other Game of the Year nominations? What's up, Rich?
I could tell you one right now, and I will be able to confirm this alongside Adam Vale and Carlos. Space Marines 2.
Oh, shit.
Everyone has been talking about that game, so we're going to try it out this week, so for sure. But I definitely think that's going to get nominated.
Well, yeah, we'll see. Have the reviews been coming in? I don't know how it's getting received critically.
Is the game even out?
There are some reviews out there. Oh yeah, the game is out. It was out in Ultimate. The Ultimate Edition came out last week. It's out officially, I think, tomorrow.
Okay.
So yeah, we'll look into that.
Otaku Man, what's going on, brother? He goes, Space Marines is that shit.
Yeah, so we'll see how Space Marines 2 does. But going back to Assyrian Air Force's point, yeah, I don't. This year hasn't been particularly heavy in terms of the hits. I mean, if Shadow the Erdtree is nominated, I know there's controversy in terms of the DLC being nominated, but if it is nominated, then that's the heavy hitter. Everything else is just, you guys mentioned Wukong, you guys mentioned Stellar Blade. But those games are just, from everything that I've heard, and I played Wukong, they're just good games.
Yeah,
it's not like people are clamoring about them being all these all-time great games.
Yo, and Final Fantasy VII Rebirth kind of came and went, didn't it?
Yeah, it really did.
Yeah. Helldivers 2. Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's another one.
And what was
Sony paying off everyone?
Yeah, what was that other game you guys were talking about that came out this year? That was big. Like some Asian game, or my
Wukong, the multiplayer game.
Yeah, it was a multiplayer game.
The multiplayer game.
Power World. Yeah.
Yes, yeah. Good point.
Can a beta be nominated?
Oh, that's right.
It's a good question. Oh man. All right, man. Good stuff. Moving on to the next question. The next couple of questions will be kind of centered around Concord, because that is the biggest flop that we've seen in. It's got to be probably that. This is like this is ET level flop, bro. This is bad.
Bigger than the game that has been coined Flop Stars.
Yeah,
bigger than the flop that was Redfall.
Yeah, Redfall. It's like
Redfall and Flop Stars, right?
Redfall and Flop Stars. Yep. All right, let's get into it. Kishak. Hold on, is Kishak in the building too? I think I may have seen his name, but I could be wrong. I don't see him here, but he may show up. Anyway, Kishak, first question. In the wake of Concord, I've noticed a bunch of people suddenly talking about. Oh, before I go on, Manny, wait until the end because I know you're going to want to jump into the middle of this shit. In the wake of Concord, I've noticed a bunch of people suddenly talking about Japan Studio and its games again. They're whining that PlayStation should have kept Japan Studio alive, but where the hell were you when those games actually came out and flopped? I'm beyond fed up with these Japan Studio bandwagoners who crawl out of the woodwork whenever there's bad news about PlayStation. Is anyone else annoyed by these hypocrites who suddenly act like they cared about Japan Studio's games now that they're gone, but were nowhere to be found when they actually mattered? Oh, man. Manny, what do you got to say?
I was there from the beginning, yo. So they ain't know all about that life. If you ain't listened to this show for the last, I don't know, 10 years, I've been talking about Japan studio games. So ain't nobody about that life around here.
Yeah. Around Throwdown, we've been a champion of it. But here's the thing: this is the way I see it. There's two factors. One, I think people who bought Japan studio games bought Japan studio games. Those games were never meant to be big sellers, right? But then Sony decided, oh, no, we need them to be big sellers. They're not selling big, cut them off. So I don't think I don't think it's a matter of that people weren't supporting those games. I think it's a matter of Sony going, we don't want to support this shit anymore.
I mean, if anybody remembers, a lot of those Japan studios were middle A sort of titles.
Yeah,
and even Toyama, the director of Gravity Rush, said it too. So those games were never supposed to be like big, huge games. They're supposed to be smaller experiences. You look at the titles of what they got there, the ones that are directly developed by Sony, like The Puppeteer, like Gravity Rush, like Rain, like a bunch of other titles. They were all titles that were like lower, smaller titles.
What's the name of that the spray paint game with the kids?
The spray paint game with the kids? Oh, Concrete Genie.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You have a lot of these sort of smaller titles that were meant to fit in there to bolster their larger titles.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because it was Sony. They're like, no, we want big hitters. We want big hitters. This one
exactly.
We want now.
And Toyama himself said the reason why he left Sony is because they were saying that they wanted larger titles from him, wanted bigger expensive titles, and he said himself that the reason why he left is because that doing those sort of titles meant that they had more control over what he did.
Yeah.
If you're, you come in under, if you do a title that's a smaller title, you come in under budget, you make a decent amount profit, then you're good to go, right?
Yeah, but Sony just wanted all that big money.
What did the former head of PlayStation say? And everybody called him fucking crazy.
Yeah, Sean Layden. Yep.
What did Sean Layden say? He said we need to start making more. These larger titles cannot be sustained. We need to start making smaller titles. How do you think that most of these titles started? These weren't big $1 million titles that they were doing. God of War had a decent enough budget, but it didn't have the crazy budget that these games have now, and that's why they were able to go on a limb and start a new franchise.
Yeah.
So if you think you somehow are getting sick of all this talk, maybe you needed to support it. Maybe you needed to go out there and do it, because now we're stuck in this bullshit where we're getting the same old fucking games over and over again, and we're getting the same old bullshit. We're getting shit like Concord.
Yeah. Real quick, and I got to remember, there was something about Astro Bot I wanted to go off on a rant. Real quick, J Shep, aren't some of Japan Studios team members now Team Asobi?
They've some of them,
yeah,
but not all of them.
Yeah, well,
not all of them. Yeah.
I mean, Japan Studio had actually a lot more people on staff than
Team
30.
Ico.
Yeah, Team Ico is gone. Team Ico has been gone since since the what was it? Since after the Last Guardian. In fact, as I remember, Team Ico had already finished The Last Guardian, and then it was ported to the PlayStation 4.
Yeah, and then I don't know when they left, but the people who made Gravity Rush also.
Yeah, all those guys are at their own studio now doing Slitherhead.
So it's safe to say Sony just cut the fat from Japan Studios. I don't know about that. I think they just cut the studio because the studio wasn't making the kind of money they wanted. That's what it is.
Yeah, and then what do? They invest in companies that don't have any sort of track record.
Mm-hmm. Like
I mean, I'm sorry.
Firewall,
I again, like you have like Jade Raymond's company. What has she done?
Yeah.
Other than be the producer of Assassin's Creed. Not to take any sort of credit away from her, but every single title that she's been connected to has been canceled, or essentially something has happened to her studio. And we have been said this on the show. Either it's bad luck or there's something else wrong.
Yeah, no, you're
so
right.
why would you invest in somebody who just has a name and nothing else connected to it?
Yeah, it's crazy, man.
You bought the guys that did Concord. They legitimately invested in this company. For what? What were they doing other than making this game?
Yeah.
Ironically, they actually bought them because of Concord. So,
They bought them because of Concord, because of that idiotic initiative where they were like, we have 12 of service games in development.
Oh my God.
So we're still going to be feeling this, you know. We still, I mean, they said a couple of them have been cut, but we're still probably going to see this, and this is precisely why we're not seeing legitimately new games from this for these things. Oh, yes, Concord is a new game, but also you got to realize that also like those hero shooters are not like a big, you know, they spent a lot more than they should have on that thing.
Yeah, wasn't it like $100 million or something? Like it's crazy.
$100 million they put into that game, and then it took them 8 years to do.
8 years. Yep.
To develop Astro's Playroom, to develop Gravity Rush, to develop any of the Japan studios, with the exception of The Last Guardian, it took them a short amount of time. And that's the biggest issue here.
Yeah. Well, we do have a question about that. Air Force Concord will come out in March free to play. The game's dead, bro. It's not coming. It's not coming. It's done.
I mean, we mentioned this on the last show. Like, okay, if they decided to come back in a free to play model, would the stink of that game even, you know, would that even carry over?
No,
you know,
it would carry over.
Would people even want to play it?
Nope.
With it having such a horrible stench to it?
They won't.
Also, you guys in the chat, who asked this? I forgot. Assyrian Air Force. You got to remember, the numbers were in the hundreds of people playing. It's not even worth keeping those freaking servers up for hundreds of people.
Yeah, they're not even. It's not even paying for itself. Yeah. You know, like if you had a certain amount of a certain amount of people playing, you can at least be like, okay, there's transactions, there's stuff happening. But there wasn't anything happening. How much are you going to get out of 200 people? That's less than the amount of people that bought that bought those so-called Japan studio games that you don't like. That are supposedly failures. They weren't as big as failures as these guys.
Yeah, exactly. Real quick,
and at least in most of these cases, they made their money back, or they wouldn't have kept them around.
Yeah. J Shep says, didn't Sony acquire Firewalk Studios only 3 years ago? Yeah, but the game was in development for 8 years, you know? Remember, Sony bought them for, as Brian said, for Concord, you know? Oh, shit, and Nate, what's going on, brother? That's a name I haven't seen in a while. He goes, while it's nice thinking the Japan studio shutdown was on the developers who didn't want to step it up to AAA. No, it was on Sony, bro. They were the ones like, you need to make these type of games. The whole thing with Japan Studios' failure was on Sony, 100%.
Yeah. The thing about it is that, in other words, just like in any game industry, game business, you can't have every single studio making AAA games. You need to have those middle A games. You need small games that take shorter amounts of time to create, to fill in the spaces between the big hitters. Any fucking movie studio does this shit. Maybe not as much now, but that's the way it used to do. You know, you used to have a smaller film that filled into space, and then you had your big blockbuster during the summer, right? Same shit with video games.
Yeah. All right, man. It's fucking crazy with Oh, okay. But before we move on to that question, I wanted actually I skipped the question. We'll go back to it. It's about Concord, but I wanted to say this about Astro Bot real quick. This is very important. Again, people are saying, oh, 6 hours, 6 hours. You people are the reason that we have 100-hour fucking games with bloated fucking content that doesn't need to be there. It's because of you guys, you know? Oh, we can't have short games. I need more. It's not worth my money. And now we get these bloated ass Assassin's Creed type of games because of you motherfuckers. You know?
Yeah, and then the hilarious part of that is most of you motherfuckers don't even finish the game.
They
anyway.
don't. 25% of people, fuck out of here.
You're belly aching about game length, and you don't even fucking play the whole game through. So shut the fuck up.
Yeah, it's fucking stupid. Jay Shep, he goes, did Japan Studios games flop? I'm not familiar with their history. The games didn't flop, but they weren't mega sellers. Again, Sony shut them down because they wanted them to be a AAA studio, and they were not a AAA studio. They never were, you know?
Like in other words, like in general, like if you ever remember, if you go back in the history of PlayStation, obviously yes, they spent money on certain games, but they always had those titles that were in between there. Like you talk about like the equivalent to what Japan Studio was. I will say this is a lot of the way Nintendo works, right? A lot of their games, they're not big budgeted games. They're small games, like Toad's Adventure and, Luigi's Mansion. These games didn't have big budgets. There were smaller experiences within the bigger spaces, between the Marios and between the Zeldas. And you need that.
Yeah, but Sony just wanted just the big AAA games for everything.
Now, and then when you look at how many releases like that Nintendo has legitimately have, it keeps it good. Something something familiar, something something new, something different. Like obviously they ape the Nintendo franchises quite a bit, but they keep that cycle. You have something in between, your big hitters. And I think that's what at least Sony is missing right now.
Yeah.
But maybe that's what they see. But maybe that's the whole reason why they've sort of moved toward funding more independent titles to fill in those spaces. Maybe that's why they're like, okay, we don't need these middle A games because we can fund some independent game and get a new game, get that to fill in the space. But a lot of those games don't seem to be servicing that. And I feel like when it comes to like a lot of that stuff, like I think people really want to see legitimate efforts made by the studio itself than just co-opting a bunch of independent games.
Yeah. All right, man. Alpha Chuck, I got to go back to it because I actually missed this question here, but it's still about Concord. Throwdown has spoken about a slow game industry crash in several episodes. With Suicide Squad and now Concord putting up 9-digit losses this year, it is hard to argue against that. Do you think the industry is taking note and will help drive better decision-making, or will the obvious signs be ignored? Man, I hope they learn their fucking lesson,
I mean, that's a weird one. Because if you have the right people at the learning the lessons, then those lessons get learned. But then you have situations like the movie industry where they often take the wrong lessons from what has been put out. So now, like, okay, with the success of Deadpool, Wolverine, right? Now, what do you think that the movie industry will pull from that? Making rated R movies, rated R superhero movies. Or is it making legitimately, films that not only pay, a good homage to the original characters, but also try to, hint at the lineage of their world. I don't know. I don't know what they will pull, but I'm hoping that for God's sake that they don't think that, okay, just slapping a rated R movie on the same old Marvel stuff is going to be the thing that saves the movie industry. The Marvel formula.
The video game industry loves to ride on the coattails of those who succeed. Mm-hmm. So and what makes money. So, you're gonna have a whole bunch of Overwatch type games after Overwatch is popular. You're gonna have a whole bunch of Destiny games after Destiny is popular. You're gonna have a lot of Fortnite clones or Call of Duty clones or Halo clones back in the day. So that that's just what the greater aspect of what the video game industry does. They see what's successful and they try to mimic it. And like Concord, they try to do that, but they were 5 to 9 years too short. So that you know, I don't really have faith because the video games aren't being made as and we've talked about this ad nauseum in the past, but video games aren't being made for the most part as art. They're being made as products.
Yeah.
And well, it's always a half and half, right? It's like some games are made for the art, some are made for the, made to, generate money. And obviously a game like Concord is that, comes from that ilk, right?
Yeah.
I mean, as much as I talk about the design of Overwatch and, so Valorant stuff, those are definitely product games. But the thing about it is that they have that coding that essentially, hey, you have some interesting looking characters. There's some interesting, cool looking reactive gameplay that's in there. So that's how you fall into the trap, right?
Yeah. And we've talked about this game today. I mean, Astro Bot, the game has, I haven't seen it. Doesn't have microtransactions or loot boxes or multiplayer or the only thing that they have is a deluxe edition, and then I think in the deluxe edition it says that you can unlock all those things too. I think. Okay, yeah. But in terms of the way that it's made, it doesn't seem like it was made to generate the most profit, which ironically is the reason why it's going to be generating a lot of profit.
Yeah, you're right, because it was just like a labor of love type of game, It wasn't like, oh, let's take all the boxes, let's make it 600 hours long, shit like that, By the way, real quick, Riku-san is in the building.
Yo, what up?
He goes, Astro Bot Platinum 250. Nice.
Yeah, boy.
Yeah.
There we go. There's the old Riku.
That's the old Riku. And Riku,
that's the old Riku.
He did that 250 on purpose. I know he did. Like he always like has like this game needs to be this number platinum, So Riku, it's good to have you back, but now get back to the writing, Oh man, Riku's more prolific than George R.R. Martin with his writing.
He writes more.
But yeah, so I don't think the game. Hopefully, the game industry will learn the lesson, but they probably won't. They're idiots.
We know that they don't learn the lessons. Like this happens all the time. Like when something bad happens, and we ask ourselves, "Oh yeah, are they going to learn the lessons from this?" Like, no, they're not going to learn the lessons.
Yeah, you're
they're going to keep doing the same thing. I mean, if people learned the lessons, then we would never get the Acolyte. We'd never get Rings of Power.
Yeah.
Like, these shows wouldn't exist if people learned the lesson, because by the time that, what was it? There was the, what TV show was it? The Obi-Wan show. There was the Obi-Wan show, then there was like another show, and then there was all that stuff, and then of course the Last Jedi. If they had learned the lessons by then we wouldn't be getting the Acolyte. And I think the same thing here. Like, if people had learned the lessons as to what gamers like and what gamers don't like, we would never get Concord. Because even from I think the only positive reception that game ever got was the announcement trailer, which just showed a bunch of characters, lockers, and something in space, and that's it. So it didn't show you. It didn't show you anything about the game. But as soon as it started revealing the game, that's when everyone was like, "Ew, what's this?" And you can go back to like that first gameplay trailer they did like 2 months ago, and look at the comments, look at the downvotes, and it's been the same consistent theme throughout. Like the initial trailer after that, when they dropped the beta. And everyone was complaining about the beta, and then launch, and then now here we are. So if they had learned, then they'd say, okay, you know what, let's take that feedback on board and not do that again. But lo and behold, they're going to do that again. I mean, if they did learn, then we would never get Gotham Knights and Suicide Squad. Because they would have seen, like, oh yeah, Marvel's Avengers getting bad reviews and bad takes, so let's not do that. But no, we got those two games, so... yeah, nothing's going to be learned. They're going to keep doing this until they eventually price themselves out of the market because no one buys the stuff, and that's the weird, harsh truth about it.
Yeah, I mean, I can't argue against that. You're 100% right. They're not going to learn. They haven't learned. You just given all these examples of them not learning. So yeah, we're going to keep seeing this. So hey, if you eventually want to lead to your studio shutdown, be my guest. Releasing this Drek.
The one thing I can say though, like when the game industry learns, is usually when it comes to smaller games, right?
Some examples
when they see. Well, like if you talk about if you look at the original Souls games, those were also the original Demon Souls was considered a low budget game.
Yeah.
Right. It didn't have a high budget. They didn't have a lot of people, but there's so many things that were learned from that, and essentially affected the industry. Now every single game has some sort of Souls aspect to it, to their combat. So there's trends that sort of pull over from smaller games. I feel like in general, like having lower budgeted games is the place for innovation.
Yeah.
And I think those are the things that teach the industry what to do next. Not big statements, but smaller ones.
Yeah, but it's the big statements that they pay attention to.
Yeah, it's the big statements on the way, everybody like when on the way up, when these things come out of nowhere and on the way up, they're like, okay, yeah, it starts to gain momentum, and that's when it starts to inspire. But everything has to start, I always feel like everything has a smaller start. I don't even think Overwatch, I don't think that was a low budget affair, but I do know that it was a simple idea, right?
Mm-hmm.
To generate this sort of money, and that's what ballooned. So I don't know. I think things can be learned, but I don't think that they get learned from the big guys.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's also one aspect as well which I need to bring up is whether or not they learn the right thing from the right places. And I bring this up because it's still something that really annoys the hell out of me. Why does Dad of War have rarity for their loot?
It's stupid. Such a stupid thing,
Because Destiny.
Yeah, I don't.
Because Destiny was popular,
yep.
And I'm guessing someone seen, oh yeah, that Destiny game, it has purple-colored loot. Let's do that in Dad of War, and then we have that for no reason that makes sense, And that stuff frustrates me. So it's also learning the right lessons, because even still to this day, I've not seen anyone that's able to explain why that exists.
And that wasn't just Dad of War. A lot of games that did the same color gradation, It's like, you know what I'm saying? Purple, blue, gold. I'm like, why are we all doing this? But
I just bring up Dad of War Destiny, because it has a history of not doing it. Like, it has a solid
you're right.
decade of not doing it, and then suddenly it's doing it. You know, so
no, you're right. Borderlands movie did flop hard, but that's a whole other thing right there. All right, let's move on here. I moved this question up the queue here since it's also about Concord. Black Metal Gamer. Who is to blame for Concord's failure? Jim Ryan or Herman Hulst?
Riku would say Herman Hulst.
He would.
To be honest, I would say Jim Ryan. I believe that the initiative that he signed for, when he for those 12 service games, messed up a lot of things at PlayStation, and you could see it. Whenever that initiative took into effect, you notice that they started bleeding talent. You notice that Gio Corsi and all those guys decided to leave. Obviously, we've never, we know Gio, but we never asked him specifically why he left. But, I think, it's just because the way the leadership was tilting the company, where they're moving away from the things that made PlayStation what it was and saved PlayStation during the PlayStation 3 era. Yeah. Doubling down on those new experiences, really buckling down and making some serious decisions. I don't think I hate to say this, but for those who are fans of these sorts of games, these sorts of online shooter type games, those are not statements. They're a giant. They're essentially a pool, just a playground with skins. And as long as you have pretty skins in those games, or the constant pull of something thought of as new, like, hey, new loot, oh, hey, new this, which is really not the same thing at all. All it gives you is a new look and maybe a different stat, and that's it. There's no new developments by these things, and so I think that's what a lot of it is.
Yeah,
I don't know.
All right, moving on here. Is anybody else we're also blaming Jim Ryan for this?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Rich.
Good.
His name.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Rich.
I just going to say, yeah, you have to make sure you name him correctly. Jim, we believe in generations, Ryan.
Yeah.
Ryan,
Yeah. With all the things that this guy had said, and they literally just get proven wrong or just outright lies. The fact that he walked over into a studio and said, "Oh, let them cheer and give him his flowers," and then immediately fired them after.
Yeah. Also,
there's nothing.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
No, Rich. Here's another one for you. Jim, nobody wants to play old games, Ryan. Remember that?
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah.
Yep.
There's a lot, like a lot of y'all have a little bit of that bird memory when it comes to Jimbo.
We don't forget our Throwdown,
Yeah, but why did Jimbo, number one, Jimbo just jumped off the train before anybody can blame him for anything.
Oh man,
this is all this shit, all of what we got going on right now. This is all from the Jimbo regime, and from what Riku says, it's from
Herman
Hulst. The Herman Hulst regime. But I mean, it remains to be seen. I am in some ways. I want to see what Herman and the Japan side guy are doing before I make any sort of judgments as to if he was one of the issues that call it. Because remember, Jim is probably the guy that comes down and says, hey, there's these really cool things called service games. We really want to do more of those. And what is Herman going to say? No.
Yeah.
Herman's going to be like, all right. I know my girl, Jade Raymond. She's got a studio. I know these guys. They got this thing called Concord. I know these guys, Square Enix is making this game called Foam Stars. I think again, we'll see what happens when this comes through and see where it all falls.
I got a question for you.
Wait, one more thing. Well, before and as we saw recently, from one of the heads at Sony, even though I think his statement was kind of false that Sony does not have across the board doesn't have enough franchises, but I do like the sentiment of the idea is that they want to start developing more new things.
Yeah, go ahead, Brian.
How long? I guess this is too many. You don't have to put an exact time frame, but how long should we wait before we judge Herman Hulst?
Well, to be honest, judging by the how many years it takes to develop a game. So there's 3 for a middle A, 5 for a triple A. So maybe between 4 and 5 years, I would think.
If we're going by the Phil Spencer metrics, it's probably 10 decades.
Hey,
yeah, right. Go ahead, Rich.
Okay, I just want to say to answer Brian's question. I just want to say, if PlayStation is only dropping Death Stranding 2 next year, then you need to go after Herman Hulst. Because they're the ones that said, "Oh, we got a lot of IPs in 2025, so I'm expecting to see more games than just Death Stranding 2."
Yeah, it's crazy. All right, moving on here. Kiss Shack, another one. With the success of Astro Bot and the many PlayStation IPs showcased in the game, do you think it's a positive thing that PlayStation allows its developers to move on from established franchises and create new IPs rather than being tied down to their past successes? I find the discord around Sony's older IPs a bit disingenuous. On the one hand, people are asking for the return of these franchises, but in the same breath, they're also calling for fresh IPs this generation, criticizing the industry for being dominated by sequels and remakes. Another frustrating point is, who will make these games when the original developers have already moved on? Do people expect Sony to find another studio willing to take on these older franchises while matching or even exceeding the quality of the originals without damaging the legacy of the series? Ooh, so a lot to pack in there. So I guess the heart of the question is, yeah, it is a good question. So I guess the maybe I understood it wrong, but it seems to me like the heart of the question is like, can you have fresh like new IPs and the older IPs you love? Because again, he brought it up. The people that made those older IPs that you love ain't working on them no more. They're somewhere else. So you're not going to get the same quality potentially. Or even if not the same quality, you're not going to get the same kind of product that's going to tickle that nostalgia itch, But I don't think, just real quick, but I don't think there's inherent hypocrisy in wanting both. I think you should want both. I think you should want, give us some of these older games that we want and give us new stuff,
We've lived, maybe you guys haven't lived in those eras, but we've had eras like that where we've had leftovers from the previous, like sequels and things coming to the new console, and then we've had new IP. PlayStation 3 era had that, right?
Yep.
We PlayStation 3 continued over the God of War series. They continued over the Ratchet and Clank series, but meanwhile also having games like Uncharted.
Yep. It's true. So you can have both. But again, Sony is now just focusing on the big AAA stuff, the sure money makers.
Yeah, I mean, you always have to. Again, you have to always leverage that stuff. Again, everything can't be $1 million blockbusters. You can't. A movie studio and even a studio can't sustain making Avengers Endgame for every single release.
Yeah.
Some of those things have to be smaller releases, budget wise. So same thing in the game industry. You can't just keep releasing these things. And yeah, you take a chance on a smaller title. It was a title that didn't take a huge budget to do. And then obviously, we've seen when those big gambles don't work out so well. Granted, the Order 1886 didn't flop, but the sentiment behind it essentially killed the franchise.
Yeah. All right. What do the rest of you guys think about that? With regard to, should Sony focus on the past or the future? I don't know. Again, to me, I'm like, why can't we just have
both? Not both?
Yeah, why not both? Like the little Asian girl, right? Why not both?
Yeah, why not both? I mean, I don't think it can only be one or the other. You always, it's just like anything. You have those familiar names to keep you along. You have your familiar titles, and sometimes, especially if you're adapting a familiar franchise like Spider-Man, that's a new IP, but it officially isn't really a new IP. Everybody knows who Spider-Man is, and that's how they're getting you in, because you know who Spider-Man is. You want to play Spider-Man in the game. But I think you can have a little bit of everything. I think you can have some nice, interesting, middle A games. And then, you have some bigger ones that have more well-known, things on there. And then again, growing your franchises. I feel like a lot of the studios these days have forgotten how to do that. I mean, granted, some would say that God of War has sort of successfully rebooted itself, but some people don't really like that. They don't like the turn that God of War has made.
Just say it's you.
Yeah,
it's me. It's me and Brian. We're the only. Yeah. We're the only we're the only God of War dislikers. But then you have like stuff like Ghost of Tsushima. Again, big budget game, but it's also very familiar, right? It takes on that whole open world thing, but with the added combat of a samurai type game. So again, we have new franchises. We had a lot more in PlayStation 4 era, and we had way more in 5. But you notice what these things happen. Why a lot of this stuff happens is because as the years have gone on, the budgets for these games have gotten so high that it becomes, and obviously development times expand, and we get less and less of these things.
Yeah. Real quick, Jay Shep goes, I'm kind of shocked that Spider-Man wasn't in Astro Bot, but other third-party franchises made appearances because they don't want to pay Marvel that money, bro.
Did you look at how much Marvel takes off of Spider-Man, dude?
Yeah, it's a lot of money. I'm not surprised at all.
Just to have that dude pop up.
Yep.
Yeah, man. No, Marvel don't joke.
Yeah.
If you're doing a Marvel license, you better be sure as shit you're making some fucking money, because that's a lot.
Yeah. If you saw the leaked Insomniac emails or whatever that we weren't supposed to talk about, we learned that they paid an exorbitant, hefty amount for that license. So they're not going to try to pay that for a little cameo in Astro Bot. No fucking way. So I'm not surprised at all, And
then again, this goes back to what they were saying, but what the head of Sony was saying. We need to start developing our own new IP. You want to know why? Because not only that is because of the licensing fees that you have to pay on something something that already exists. Buying licensing a book, right? Or licensing something, some other famous character from another franchise, or develop a film. That all costs money. But doing an Uncharted don't cost shit.
Yeah. Licensing Ryu and Ken from Capcom ain't gonna cost as much as licensing Spider-Man.
Exactly. And you should also ask the same question about Cloud, because he's not in Astro's Playroom either.
Yeah, somebody did actually bring that up. Like, oh, why is it there? Maybe they again.
He's not there.
Yeah, he's not there.
Where's Sora? There's no Sora in there.
All right, man. Moving on. Tumeke, who's also joining us in there as Blitz. Who is the worst CEO in gaming ever? Phil Harrison,
the EA guy.
Phil
Harrison. No, I would argue man, that's a hard one. Yeah. Because I would say the heads of EA.
EA have been pretty bad, yeah.
EA's been horrible, but they've been making money.
Should we go for the obvious one, Bobby Kotick?
Bobby Kotick is probably,
yeah.
Let's
morally
go for the
wise,
one.
probably
morally wise and cutthroat wise, yes, I would say him and whoever was in front of EA when they were the worst company ever. Remember that?
I mean,
it was like a good 10 years or something like that.
It was a good 10 years to be calling the worst company ever.
Don Matrick, I mean,
Matrix was pretty bad.
Really bad.
Enter the Matrick.
Yeah.
Enter the Matrick, yeah.
They had to. The Xbox had two marks against them. They had Matrick and Harrison at the same time.
It was a double trouble.
Double the trouble.
Otaku man, Randy Pitchford. Yeah, he's pretty bad. Pretty bad.
Is he still connected to the company anymore?
I'm not sure. But wasn't he? Yeah. Excuse me. Wasn't he shilling for the Borderlands movie or something? The other day?
He was shilling because he was part of the board. I guess he was not maybe a producer or something on it, but yeah, he was definitely star fucking on that movie.
Yeah. Bobby Kotick is the winner, absolutely. Bobby Kotick, bro.
Yeah.
All right,
I mean,
man. Yeah.
It's his fault why probably Blizzard stopped essentially making games for a long time. They just harped on. They became the World of Warcraft studio.
Yeah.
So.
Okay, looking
He said he said he wasn't going to do any of that. He said he wasn't going to change anything at Blizzard.
Yeah. What's up, Brian?
Go ahead, Brian.
Looking at Wikipedia, it still says that he is the CEO and president of Gearbox.
Oh, she's still there then.
Oh,
There you go.
So Pitchy is still there, huh?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Pitchy.
Brian, what do you say, Ben?
No, I just found out that his government name is Randall Stewart Pitchford II.
The second. Fancy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. He's his great grandfather was a magician.
Oh, okay. That's interesting.
Yeah.
There's a joke there to be made about him and making like the Borderlands film disappear, but I can't make it.
Yes, there's a joke there somewhere. Later, Otaku Man. Thanks for hanging out.
Later.
All right, man. Yeah, again, Bobby Kotick, bro.
Kotick.
All right, next up here. Is it inevitable that developers of AAA quintuple games will eventually turn to AI in a big way? Concord took 8 years and lasted 2 weeks. All the major first-party studios from Xbox and PlayStation are putting out sweet fuck all because games take too long and cost too much. Hardcore gamers need all those A games, graphics for them to even get out of bed and consider a game to be good. It's a cycle of shit that no one knows how to get out of, so it seems the logical next step is AI. I don't think so. Remember, AI, at least as it currently is incapable of actually creating something new. All it does is take pieces, scraping of existing things and cobbling something together that looks like the real deal, but it's not imaginative. It doesn't have intuition. It can't come up with new ideas. It's just scraping crap. So I don't see. I think the harder question is, are you asking if AI can make game development faster? I don't think so. Maybe in some respects, sure, but like AI can't fix mismanagement, right? AI can't fix, people who don't know how to budget, it can't fix those things. So I don't think it would really help it that much. Maybe it'll shave 2 years off and the game will still take 6 years to come out. But go ahead.
I don't think. I mean, if they're looking to cut employees, like if they're looking to cut on our team, but you still need an overseer for any AI. AI can't create any like if you're talking about 3D models, you're probably it definitely can't create effective 3D models that don't need some sort of human intervention. And what if at that point, if it does if they do get it to that point, there still needs to be all kinds of additional stuff that needs to be done. I mean, game development is a long, arduous process. Stuff that you don't think like should be done. Do you know that every single character in a game needs to be modeled twice? They need to be 3D modeled initially, a high poly model, and then a mid poly with a different alternate with a different topology needs to be made, and then a low poly needs to be made. So they need to do it 3 fucking times. That's why shit like Lumen is a big deal, because they don't, at least for stuff like that, they can at least throw in a high polygon model inside of their game and not have to worry about doing 3 alternate load, 2 alternate load types for the game to essentially lighten the load on the engine. This is shit that all has to be done. So
baked in lighting, right, into different things.
Yep. Well, baking it and a huge, baking. You have the for lighting. You have to bake the lighting for the environment, because what happens is a lot of times doing live, rendered light at the time, like live light, real time lighting. That's huge on the engine. Modeling environments, obviously a lot of times they use these sort of field generators, like land field generators. which is a form of AI. Even Hellblade had used it, right, for a lot of their stuff, or they've pulled, topology, they've scanned environments. That's also how ways that they've sort of tried to cut down the time that they've to use to make things. There's things that they can do to sort of do this, but I don't think AI is the all encompassing fix that will do it. But like I said, like in 2D concepting, which that might be an area where they might want to try to attempt to do it, but then eventually you'll find the results are not what you want, and then you'll end up hiring an artist again. So it's, there's always whenever you're working with more fidelity, the thing that everybody wants to see, higher fidelity models, higher quality, all these things take more and more time for people to produce. If we were making games like in the resolution of 720 or 1080, you notice that game times are not nearly as long. Development times aren't nearly as long.
Yeah. All right.
I actually have a slightly more gloomy look in this. I think we're looking at things from the current state of things, and I feel like if we apply this to the same thing as AI generated images, compared like 2 years ago when like the first images of DALL-E came out and they were just smudges of mess, compared to now where there's some images that people really cannot tell the difference between if it's AI and not AI.
By the way, Brian, before you move on, I did specifically say in the current state. I did specifically say that. So, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. So in the current state, no. But I feel like if you followed the same trajectory as AI images, I do think you'll be able to get to a point where you should realistically be able to get something out there that resembles a good game, and that's what's really terrifying. Because at first I was like, no, you couldn't do that. It's way too complicated. There's way too many things going on. But then seeing AI images and like from DALL-E 1 to what we have now, it's just like, yeah, this is really fast and it's really good. It's like, again, I've seen photos where I've shown people and they've been like, yeah, that's a real photo. It's like, no, it's AI generated because they've said it is, and it is shocking. So although now it's I don't know if there are any. I'm certain that there's ones that have used AI in there to generate something. I'm certain of it. But in terms of the whole thing, I think in good maybe 10 years we could get something, because again, Tony, how fast that tech can move in like 5-10 years. And
my question to you is, do you think it'll actually get creative enough like a person? Right now it's not creative. It's just like I know what you're talking about with regards to these photos, but even those photos are just scrapes. They're not original. They're cobbled together from other sources. You know what I mean?
What do you class as original?
That it's something that it just conjured up by itself without without all the data that's already been fed into it. You know what I'm saying? From like sources from the internet and all that, like something completely brand new.
See, I take big umbrage with that because effectively you're saying, is it possible for anything to be made without inspiration?
Kind of. Like I know what you're saying. Like because obviously, because here's the thing. Regarding humans, right? We actually don't really generate new stuff either, right? We're just cobbling shit together ourselves. So you're right in that regard, but this thing is like you could actually identify where it's getting all this stuff from. And companies have even sued like, hey, you're stealing my shit. Hey, you're stealing my shit. We know this stuff is just stealing from different sources. So it's not really generating anything new. Like if it could use these things as inspiration, sure. I don't know how you would qualify that, but right now we're not seeing that. And I don't know if it could ever get to a point where it can just generate something brand new out of thin air that hasn't been already stolen from somewhere else,
I think it's possible if you look at the modeling and you invert it, because the way that modeling works now is, as you said, it just takes stuff that's existing and use that as input to say whatever you output, it has to be based on these things as input. So hence, to some degree, what comes out is derived from what you put in, right?
Yeah.
So hence, if you take that idea and you invert it and say, okay, now try to make something that's not based on the stuff that we put in. So hence, try to figure out what is new. So in theory, that could be a possibility, because it's just saying, just don't do this or don't do that. So again, I don't know how feasible that is, but I do believe that it should be possible to some degree. Again, this is me just being completely hypothetical. Yeah. Whether or not we'll see that, and whether or not it'll work, and whether or not it'll look nice, that's also the other thing. Because again, as you say, it's very difficult, because effectively I'm saying, okay, you take 5,000 pictures of people, and then you try and make a person that doesn't look like those people. But because it might not have a frame of reference as to what a person looks like, because it's been told not to look at people, it might print out something that's just a blob of mess. Because technically, a blob of mess is not a person. So it has achieved its goal in making something that's not like these 5,000 photos of people. So hence, the reason why my theory sort of breaks down is, how do you get it to not look like something, but also resemble the same thing at the same time? You know, like, how can you get it to draw a person without showing it what a person looks like? And that's kind of what I'm saying, in that it's been told to say it must look like this, but not look like this at the same time. And yeah, so it could also not be possible. But again, we'll see how things go on. And I'm both interested and terrified as to how things could turn out. But either way, I'm happy to say that I have lived in that time.
I would also say that when it comes to art, like if you're talking about art, replacing art teams with art, you're not also saving that much as far as individuals. You don't usually have most art teams don't consist of at least 2D art teams consist of more than a few artists. That's how concepting usually works. You may have like a 10-person team, you may have a few, but it's not compared to everything else that needs to be done. So the bigger thing would have to be in some other department. Now, as far as I know, the AI models don't create 3D models. And then again, like when you throw I've seen orthographics that have come through these AI models, and they're all inconsistent because it never draws anything twice the same. And especially if you're trying to provide an orthographic to a 3D artist to create a 3D model from, you have to make sure that there's a fair amount of consistency that needs to be made between those illustrations to create that 3D model. So there has to be, I would say it maybe in a bunch of years time, if they're able to consistently keep that could possibly be a source. But even at the same time, you still need somebody there to say, no, don't do that. And to be honest, like it's not, and it should never be left to some writer. It should be somebody who actually has an artistic mind, who's be able to tell the difference. Because, a lot of times you hear, "Oh, I can't tell the difference between AI art and real art." It's like, because all you're doing is just looking at the surface of this. When you get down to the details, you see all their arms are wrong, their faces are flipped over. You see like things don't connect. And I think that's
I don't know, man. Like, to me, and I'm fully cognizant of the fact that I look at this stuff each and every single day. But to me, it's pretty obvious what is and isn't AI. It's blatantly fucking obvious.
But you
know.
But
again, I look at it every day.
You also have an artistic eye, right?
Yeah, that's true.
Regular normal people, Joe Schmo walking down the street, they see something, it looks good enough. That's why that's why a bunch of people who say, oh, this is going to free art from people, because they don't know the difference between legitimate creation and legitimate knowing how things work than just creating a pretty image that they only look at for a couple of seconds.
Yeah. But anyway, I don't want to talk about fucking AI anymore. Let's move on. Assyrian Air Force. He goes, congratulations on your 500th episode. Thank you for that. All right, couple questions here. I have a PS5 and debating buying an Xbox Series X or building a PC to have exclusives, but I can't decide to justify a gaming rig. Then get an Xbox. If you can't justify a gaming rig, get an Xbox then, Although I would encourage you to get a gaming PC, because then you get all the PC games and Xbox games. But if you can't afford it, because it is pretty fucking expensive, because the thing is, you can build like a low-end PC that won't cost an arm and a leg, but that's just not going to really last you like long-wise, like when like games get better graphics and stuff. I wouldn't recommend that to anybody. Like, if you're going to go for a gaming rig, go all out. So you can have that shit for like 5-6 years or something, But if money's tight, get an Xbox, Although, to be honest, I wouldn't even recommend getting an Xbox either. There's no games, bro. What are you missing?
It really just
I agree.
on how much you're willing to spend.
I have an answer. Get yourself an ROG Ally, son. There you go. You get a PC and Xbox games all in one. There you go. Problem solved. You can connect your motherfucker to a monitor, keyboard, and mouse. You're good to go. There you go. I just saved you a lot of money.
Yo man, are they paying you to say that, son? No, for real.
Yeah. There you go. I just saved this man money.
I mean, the thing is that, like, again, like you said, but like the ROG Ally is not the strongest thing out there.
No,
but
it's
a
not.
very comparable. I mean, here's the thing: you could possibly make. It's cheap, but you can. I think you can make a decent PC. A pretty good PC for a decent price without that give you at least enough power to be able to continue to work and then also upgrade. So I think he can.
Yeah, that's true.
To be honest, I think he can make if he designs his PC at a decent for a good rate. I think you can produce images that look good enough. And I would say between an Xbox and the PC, I would say go for the PC if you're going to go for that, because there's so much more that's available to you, and obviously you can not only play Xbox games on there. So most Xbox's titles are all, if you have like a Microsoft account, or they're also on Steam, you can play all of those as well as play all the PC games that you want to play. Again, like. If and I'm not the PC expert here. That's for Brian and Tony and for Chris and pretty much the rest of the team.
Everybody
all those guys work in tech. Everybody but me
and Brett. And
everybody
Brett too, but everybody but you and Brett.
And Brett too.
Yeah.
But I would say, like, if you're on a budget, try to
don't buy an Xbox. Don't buy an Xbox.
Don't buy. I would say spec out something that you could most definitely build a PC that is comparable with to an Xbox and not break your wallet.
Yeah, or get an ROG.
And you can upgrade it. and you can get a.
Yeah.
Well,
yeah, but if you want that upgradability, yeah, you could do that. When you do come into more money, just make sure you got the right motherboard and all that stuff.
And
that's where I fucked up. I can't upgrade my shit because of the motherboard, but we're not going to get into that. Go ahead, Carlos.
And you just always got to remember, you can do more things with the PC other than gaming.
Yep.
You cannot.
Yeah.
If your work has any relation, you can do a podcast. You can video editing. You can do art. You can do a whole bunch of things. Write a book.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Yeah, you
don't
don't
get an
even
Xbox.
you don't even a
definitely,
PC for
definitely,
that.
yeah,
But
definitely invest in a PC. You know, or
Yeah.
or even listen, or a really good gaming laptop. You know, if you want to go down that route.
There are there's some seriously good gaming laptops
that won't kill your fucking budget. You know,
that won't kill your budget. I had for a while. I had a pretty decent gaming laptop, and I mean it was running what was it? Games with it was one of the early ones that had ray tracing ability in there. Ran Hellblade. It ran a bunch of games that were, that were pretty, hefty, and you didn't need to have a. I mean, granted, now if you have a 4K monitor, and if you don't have a 4K monitor, you can still run things at 1080.
Somebody bouncing a ball. What the fuck is that sound? No, you're right about that. Yeah, you get. Good gaming laptop. Yeah. So there's choices. You don't. Yeah.
But I would say like aren't the gaming laptops? They're a little more difficult to upgrade than a full on PC. Though,
yeah.
Right?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Laptops in general, that's a problem. You got to buy the frame, framework laptop if you want an upgradable one for the most part.
Okay.
And they have a gaming one too. Framework 16.
Yeah.
But yeah. So yeah, if you don't care about upgrading, I would actually suggest a gaming laptop, to be honest. They're pretty good.
So yeah, gaming. So like gaming laptop. If you don't care about upgrading, a decently priced PC that can do the things that you want, and then you can upgrade it later.
Yeah,
that's the second option. And then obviously, Tony said the ROG Ally.
ROG Ally, yep. But the point is, you don't need to buy an Xbox.
Yeah, you kind of don't need an Xbox these days. I mean, unless you're really into, like, you could even, for the sake of conversation, you could still even apply, essentially run Xbox Game Pass, and you get all the games that are on there.
Yep.
So,
real quick, J Shep goes, it would be nice if Apple could get their crap together with gaming. Here's the thing with Apple, right? The hardware is in place. It's really a matter of developers making games for Apple. That's what it really is. And most developers don't feel it's a waste. They feel it's like a waste of time, for the most part. I mean, look how successful some of these games have been that they poured, like Resident Evil and the like. Not so good.
Death Stranding.
Yeah, not so good. So it's not really a matter of like, I mean, there are some licensing shit to that, but the main thing is it's not really so much the hardware. It's more of like the developers need to put their shit on there, Yeah, exactly, Kishak, exactly. All right, man. Next up, another one from Mr. Assyrian Air Force. If the PlayStation 5 Pro is priced at $600, will it sell well or will it flop? Now, here's the thing, right? Had you asked me this like 4 years, never mind. I think my answer's stupid. Okay, but just a little bit of history lesson, just to prove, that I was wrong about stuff. So when the rumors were going around about the PlayStation 5's price, right? I said no system in history had been successful at $500. If this shit costs $500, it's dead, right? And again, I wasn't stupid. You looked at the track record. Every system I sold for $500 flopped, right? So I was like, yo, Sony, you price I said $500? Not so good. What ended up happening? PlayStation 5, $500, one of the best-selling systems ever, right? So now I'm getting this question, will the PlayStation 5 Pro flop at $600? Probably not. I think people are just willing to just pay a lot of money now,
Well, it's not even just about that. It's just and I remember having vividly having these conversations back before the console launch.
Yeah.
And I mentioned the whole thing about inflation.
Inflation, I mean,
$600 isn't what $600 used to be. Mm-hmm. People are spending $10 to get a Happy Meal, more than $10 to get a Happy Meal. The dollar menu isn't $1 anymore. You want a McDouble? Do you want a McDouble? You have to pay like $3 for it. It used to be $1, like not too long ago. So a console going from 400 to 500 isn't that big of a leap. And, going from 500 to 600 for a quote unquote pro model, because, adding the pro moniker to the title makes it, a lot more, in rare earth, like, the Vision Pro, it has a pro moniker on it as well. And that's $3,000. So having a console costing $600, especially a PlayStation console, $600 with the pro label on it, I don't see it as being a dead on arrival. Yeah, I don't think it'll push like the other ones did, but by no means is it a failure incoming.
Yeah, I agree. What about the rest of you guys?
Oh, by the way, I'm pretty sure it'll sell at 500 when it comes out.
I think so too. I think what's going to happen is it's going to sell at 500 and going to lower the price of the Slim, because that's the real one now. So they're going to lower that probably.
So the rumor is that there's a couple of rumors on the new PlayStation that there will not be a physical disc version of it.
I've heard that.
It'll only be the digital version, and it'll take advantage of the 2 SKUs, the additional disc drive that you can essentially buy and put the disc drive on there, and the plates that you can put on the current PlayStation Slim. So to possibly keep costs down, maybe. That's why they're doing that. But they're also slowly but surely trying to move everybody away from discs anyway. But anyway, I think that's what they might be due. So I'm thinking 500, and I'm thinking the other 2 SKUs still exist. The disc version, this version of the Slim, and then the undisked version of the Slim.
Yeah, Rich, you were gonna say something?
Oh no! What was the question about? Will it flop if it's $600?
Yeah.
Well, I would like to know what the hell is going to launch on this console. Besides,
obviously, Death Stranding, the most graphically intensive game ever created.
Oh, there you go. Yeah, so that'll be a way to promote Death Stranding 2 at Tokyo Game Show. I could see that. Well, no, some people is probably still going to buy it, but I do want to see if that price changes, because like you said, Tony, I could see a price drop. And if they do drop a price of the current model for this one, that might be a good idea, but we'll see what happens. Yeah. The real question is, who on here on the Throwdown is getting it? I think we already answered this question. I think everybody said they get it, right?
Yeah, we're all getting it day one. Oh man! But to answer your other question,
I would think you would get it, Tony.
Well, no. Well, the thing is, I said this before. I'll get it. Actually, wait. And I'm gonna say my answer, and then Brett's question, and then my answer to his question, because we literally had this conversation 2 weeks ago. I said I would consider getting it depending on, because I'm going to review it. It's a high likelihood that I'm going to review it. And I said, based on my review, if I find it's worth it, I'll buy it. But then Brett asked me, what games are you going to play for it? And I'm like, oh, yeah, you're right. So I probably won't, to be honest. There's not enough, because at least when I got the PlayStation Pro, there were a bunch of games that I was like, oh, let me check out what it looks like. Now it's not really, I don't really care as much, And Rich, to answer kind of your other question, the PS4 Pro also didn't have any games that really came out when it launched. So I don't think you're going to do that either with this one. You know what I mean? That really take advantage. So it's just going to be, for people who just want, more frame rates, But yeah, we'll see. What size SSD will it come out with? Who knows, bro? Again, it's just a rumor right now. Who knows?
Hopefully nothing stupid like 964 gigabytes.
Yeah, fucking dumbass. All right, and the last question here. This is also it's a sponsor question, Mr. Rumudith. Another one from Mr. Syrian Air Force and Segway Kings. He was talking about SSDs. This question is about SSDs. Has this generation, and I'm going to tie it all back, baby. Has this generation been that bad considering we have consoles that utilize SSD and games are more optimized? Here's the thing. Yeah, we do have like the best loading speeds we've ever seen, but what the fuck does it matter? We ain't got no games. You know? Okay, great. You load fast. Cool. It's the same old shit. Like, okay, what games load the fastest, right? Old games, and then some of the newer games, but they're few and far between. So, again, it's like having a fucking fast car. You ain't got no fuel. Oh, yeah, the Ferrari looks fantastic in your driveway, but you can't drive the shit, you know? So, I can't say, oh, SSDs has made this generation worth it because there's no fucking games to play, you know? Anyway, go ahead, Carlos.
Yeah, it's all about the games, and a lot of the SSD stuff is pretty cool. I mean, mostly we see it on Sony first party games like Ratchet and Clank and Astro Bot.
Yeah, Astro. Yeah.
So the other games, they still have their bullshit. I mean, Final Fantasy VII Rebirth had like the loading screen stuff. Or not Rebirth, 16 had the things where the wall stuff where you go to the walls and it's secretly a loading screen. So there's still a lot of games that have yet to fully utilize it in the way where Mark Cerny promised it when it first got announced. Hashtag no load screen. Shout out to Chris. So yeah, I feel like we still got a long way to go for the SSD to make it seem like it's a big difference from what we've been playing previously.
Yeah.
By the way, Kishak asked the question if we want.
Sure.
He said it's a pretty good one too. Question: will the PS5 Pro reveal be at a blog post or an event?
That's a good question.
I feel like it'll be an event.
What did they do with the PS4 Pro?
That's a good question.
That's going to be my answer. I'm going to be cheap. Whatever they did with the PS4 Pro, going to do with this one. Go ahead, Rich.
Yeah, I was going to say, I'm pretty sure they're going to have something for the 30th anniversary of PlayStation. I don't know if that's a show or a blog post. So I do expect it to get announced at whatever that is.
Tokyo Game Show is around the corner. So you never know. By the way, off topic, but I had to mention this. It's now midnight. It's officially September 9th. You know what game console came out on 9/9/99, baby? The motherfucking Dreamcast came out 25 years ago, people. Ain't that something?
Nope.
Anyway, so
Sega won't remember.
They won't. So what happened with the PS4 Pro? How did I get announced? Was that a show? Or was that a blog post?
So PS4 Pro showcase. It was E3 2017. Brian, did you get the same?
I don't know. I just said ooh as a night. Ooh, okay, that's interesting.
There was a PS4 Pro showcase at E3. I don't remember that.
What? And this is from a video I got from PlayStation on June 16, 2017, and the title is PS4 Pro Showcase Video. And it says E3 2017. So I think this is how I just don't remember how.
Yeah, I don't remember. So yeah. J Shep goes, quote unquote, insiders are saying the Pro will release this week. Fuck out of here.
Oh, really?
Fuck out of here.
I mean,
smoking that crack. You know?
I mean,
fuck out of here.
Here's something. So
that shit is releasing in November, bro. You know, that's what Sony usually does. You know, unless they go crazy.
Well, I mean, Sony released the original PlayStation actually today in 1995.
Yeah, in Japan.
So, that's the North America. Japan was 1994, December 3rd.
Yeah, but I'm talking about recently. PS4, PS5 was November. PS4 was November. You know, PS3 was November. So yeah, those guys are full of shit, bro. Those are these fucking insiders.
I mean, they said at Tokyo Game Show that Kaz Hirai is going to say something about, to commemorate the PlayStation, and PlayStation also does have a booth at Tokyo Game Show this year. So I mean, maybe there's an announcement coming soon for the Pro.
An announcement to make.
Who knows?
Yeah. But yeah, November. Since the PS3, bro. It's been coming out in November.
Also, fun fact, for that 30th anniversary image that they put out, there is that design that of that drawing of that people are saying is a PlayStation 5 Pro. Remember that one drawing that they did supposedly of the box drawing? Well, apparently those big, those like the two plates in the vent actually appears in that 30th anniversary image. So people are saying that they wouldn't put that there if it wasn't something coming.
What is this 30th anniversary image?
It says like 30. It says like it's a 30th anniversary, and then you see like there's little silhouettes of all the different PlayStations throughout the era, throughout the years, and one of them is the PlayStation 5, the what looks like the PlayStation 5 Pro.
When did this get posted? You're muted.
When they released that information about the 30th anniversary on last episode of Throwdown.
Oh, okay. Which I wasn't on. No wonder I'm like, what the fuck are you talking about?
Yeah, but the original one was that somebody drew what was on the box because they've seen the box of the PlayStation 5 Pro, but they couldn't show the actual image, so they had somebody draw what they saw.
Oh, okay.
And then after that, PlayStation released an image of the 30 years of PlayStation image, and then if you look on, it has silhouettes of every single thing that had come out from PlayStation or their consoles and stuff. And then you see that thing with the three vents on the center and the two plates on the top and the bottom.
Yeah.
So what they're saying is that is the new Pro, and they think that it's coming soon. Like an announcement is coming soon. They wouldn't have put it on there if it didn't.
Yeah, I could see them announcing it this week. I could see for sure. September, because again, didn't they do some similar with the PS4 Pro, where they announced it in like September and then release it in November? Like I think that's what they did.
Yeah, they did that. I was mistaken with the June E3 thing. It was actually September of 2016.
Yeah, that sounds right. But was that was that a showcase or was that a blog post?
I think it was a showcase because they had the video where they explained all that stuff. I think Sean Layden was in it.
I legit don't remember that shit. Go ahead, Rich.
Oh no, I was going to say, I think it is going to be an announcement maybe this week, and I want to give a shout out to you, Tony, because you're going to be busy because Apple has an event also this week. So
just so you know, September Apple events are iPhones, which means I don't have to worry about that. But I'll be busy come November when they release their Macs, so it all balances it out. So this week I won't be busy. I'll actually be okay. I'll be left alone, but it's all good though. But yeah, so I think if these insiders are correct, we're probably going to get an announcement this week. Not a release this week. No fucking way. Get an announcement this week, then the system drops. And it's looking like the system probably is real. By the way, some stats for you. Some claimed things about it. 45% performance improvement in Brian, you can help me with this one. I don't know how to pronounce this shit. Rasterized rendering. Is that how you say that?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Rasterized rendering thanks to a larger GPU and faster memory. Hugely improved ray tracing architecture, delivering 2 to 3 times speed up on average with peaks at 4x. I'm reading this off of WCCF Tech, by the way. Custom machine learning architecture that supports 300 TOPS at 8 bits to power the PlayStation. Check this out. PlayStation's spectral super resolution. That's basically their answer to NVIDIA DLSS. 300 TOPS is interesting because I think there's no embargo for it. So the what the fuck was it? The new NVIDIA CPU. They said altogether it could produce like 100 tops, 120 tops. That's AI shit for you people who don't know. So 300, very interesting. Sony's version, okay, they explained it right there. Okay, cool. PSSR is a machine learning enhanced version of temporal anti-aliasing upscaling that requires inputs similar to NVIDIA DLSS and AMD FSR. It fully supports high dynamic range. It also does not require per game training like the latest version of DLSS. All right, so there's going to be some machine learning in there. Right, not surprised by that.
They're gonna be doing possibly image reconstruction to try to hit those sort of higher resolutions, so the games can run a little bit better.
Yeah. Interesting. So yeah, I think if we're gonna get an announcement, it's probably gonna be this week. That sounds about right. Just all the murmurings I've seen, it seems like it may actually happen.
The murmurings,
you know. Brian, what are your thoughts, bro?
I honestly couldn't care less, to be fair with you guys.
You know,
I'm with Brett on this. It's like, okay, so PS4, PS5 Pro to play what? Concord?
By the way, Brian, there's still 7 motherfuckers playing that game. They're holding out, you know?
Fair enough. I mean, come on. It's like, I would understand if there were lots of good titles that, again, they were lining up to play, but honestly, there's just kind of a bit nothing.
Yeah.
You know, and I honestly have zero interest. I mean, my PS5 barely gets turned on these days, so hence PS5 Pro, there literally is no point in me even thinking about getting it. It's just kind of, it's just going to take up space it's going to take up space and use electricity for no reason. That's how I see the PS5 Pro in my life at this moment.
Brian, that's my problem too, bro. Like, one of the reasons I kind of forget how to turn off the PS5 is because I don't play it that often. I'm dead ass. I'm like, I played fucking Astro Bot, and I don't remember the last game I played before that. I know I'm Stellar Blade maybe, and that was in March. You know, no, I didn't play Wukong on PS5. I played that shit on PC, baby. You know, I don't remember the last game I played on PS5. Besides that, before Astro Bot, maybe it must have been Stellar Blade, and that was earlier in the year, bro. So Brian, I'm with you on that one, bro. Like, even if this thing is as good as they say, where the games, right?
Yeah. That's my thing. And also, I actually want to go back on the price because I was looking, because I really wanted to see what the price was of the PS4 Pro and the OG. Well, I guess the PS4 Slim at that point to see what the price modeling was. So I'm looking at the blog post from PlayStation Blog. So it's as official as it can get from Andrew House. So I don't know what else I can say. So this was back in September when they announced the PS4 Pro. They said that the OG PS4 was going down to $299 US.
Yeah.
And the Pro will be $399 US. So roughly $100 difference.
Yeah.
So the PS5 is what now these days? Is it still the 500 give or take?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
It's still $499. Yeah.
Okay, so it is possible that they could price it down, and then PS5 Pro will be $499.
Yeah, that's what I think.
That's fine.
Yeah.
Okay, because I was still thinking that I don't see a world where the PS5 gets cut by that much, and then the PS4 Pro comes in at a higher price point like that. So hence I was thinking maybe the PS5 Pro will be $699. Sorry, $599.
Yeah.
Which is going to be really fascinating if that's the case. But yeah, I honestly have nothing to say about this. Like, if it comes out and it's good and people like it, fine. I again, like with the PS4 Pro, I said if it really is going to change games that much, yes. But even now, if it changes games that much, I still have zero incentive because I'm like, okay, I don't turn it on apart from playing GTA with friends, and that's it. So to me, the console is useless. So whatever. But yeah, again, if it comes out, like they say, great. I'm still on the fence about whether or not it would come out because I honestly have no idea. But yeah, I'm just in the completely indifferent zone at this point in time. Yeah, if it comes out, it's great. Changes games that well, great. But then same time, what games? Like what? It's going to change Astro Bot so you can play it at higher frame rate, higher resolutions. Okay, cool. Like Stellar Blade. What's that one? The very early game with the woman in space and it's like a
Returnal.
Returnal. You can play like Returnal. You know, it's like what are people going to play on this?
There's no games. That's again. I know we sound like broken record here, but no games. Oh, what about Astro Bot? Yeah, but what was the game before? I don't remember the last fucking game I played. There's so few and far between. You know, not on
you played Wukong?
Not on PlayStation. I didn't. You know, I literally said that 5 minutes ago. I didn't play Wukong on it. I played that on PC, baby. It must have been Stellar Blade. That must have been the last game I played on PS5.
Stellar Blade's the last one.
Yep. No, Marvel's Capcom don't count. I played that on PC too. You know,
unless the MVP studio comes out with Wolverine, not to announce it or not to announce that it's being released, but just with something. So at least that way they can tantalize people and say, "Oh yeah, it looks good on PS5 Pro, and here's how it looks on PS5 Pro."
Yeah.
Da-da. So I think that might be the only thing that they can do at this point because unless
that shit ain't dropping this year. That's not dropping this year. You know,
it's not dropping this year, but they can still tantalize and say maybe dropping next year type thing or something.
Yeah, go ahead.
I mean, again, I'm just trying to give them the benefit of the doubt and trying to think of a situation that might end up well in people's eyes. And as I said, the only thing I can think of is Insomniac coming through with Wolverine game, and that's how they announced the PS5 Pro. At least then people can make that tangential link between the two and say, "Oh yeah, PS5 Pro Wolverine." You know, it's cool. It's like it's linked together in some way, shape, and form. And I honestly think that's the only thing that they can say because I don't have, unless they pull the ultimate move and do Bloodborne remastered with PS5 Pro.
Yep.
And yeah, I think those are the only two things that they can do because anything else will just be a massive meh from lots of people.
Yeah, what were you gonna say, Rich?
I was just gonna say I would not be surprised. You know, I think Brian made a good point about Insomniac, but I do know there is some DLC coming for Spider-Man 2. So yeah, that could be another announcement. But I still don't think PS5 Pro. I don't see people buying a PS5 Pro just for that. So they definitely got to have more than one thing they're announcing, I would say.
Yeah, and you know what? Now that I'm thinking about it, like that's probably another reason why $600 won't be a problem because the people who are gonna buy this are the hardcore of the hardcore, and they don't mind spending that kind of cash. That's probably who they're targeting. Those type of people, you know, because there's no games, bro.
Yeah.
All right. Believe we're done here. Good stuff. Rich, man, what's going on with the coalition?
Oh boy, there's a lot going on with the coalition. To quote Mr. Adam Vale, we are swimming in games. You know, I know that there have been some complaints on this show. There's no games. I don't know what you guys are talking about. It's a lot of games right now, though, I must say. So first and foremost, a couple of reviews are in the works. One of those reviews is going to be dropping very soon, this upcoming week. The game has been mentioned on this podcast already. That's all I could say. There's a lot of reviews in the works, and I've also been playing a game that another game I can't really talk about. But stay tuned to the website. there's plenty of things coming this week. And of course, lastly, we are going to be bringing back I Am Negan soon because the Daryl Dixon show, yes, the Daryl Dixon show debuts later this month. So stay tuned for that. If you are a Walking Dead fan, you want to hear our thoughts on that. And of course, Power is back as well. Myself, Dana, and Gary recorded our recent episode. You can check that out as well on the Coalition channel. But yeah, stay tuned. A lot of gaming stuff dropping. So much I can't talk about, but yeah, it's going to be a very busy week. So just stay tuned to the website.
Good stuff. Real quick, last minute question here from Jay Shep. Would Sony limit production of the PS5 Pro, causing it to sell out? I don't think they're going to limit it. I don't think they're going to produce that many to begin with. So it will sell out. They know it's not going to be a big seller. They know it's going to be mainly the whales buying it, so they're not going to be producing a whole lot of it initially, at least. So yeah, it will sell out. But artificial scarcity does help companies, as we've talked about many times. So I wouldn't be surprised with that either. And yeah, as for that, we're pretty much on a regular schedule now until the holidays. So yeah, keep listening and checking out Throwdown, man. You already know. This week, it could be very interesting this week if that PS5 Pro news comes out. We'll have something to talk about for sure. And we'll probably talk more about, Astro Bot, fun game. And yeah, man. I think we're done here, so make sure you follow Throwdown on Twitch and Twitter. Join the Discord where the conversations and the rumors are always popping. You could also find us on any podcast app on the planet. That's Throwdown Show towards Throwdown Show. Throwdownshow.com to listen to past episodes. And if you have been watching us on YouTube and like the video, make sure you hit like, subscribe, and hit the bell to be notified of when we go live. Links to everything down below. Once again, I was your host, Tony Polanco. And tonight, I was joined by Emilio Lopez.
See you next time.
Carlos Romero.
Peace out.
Richard Bailey Jr.
Have a good week, everybody.
And Brian Manjoma.
Hi, I'm for Space Marines too.
There you go. All right, guys, we'll see you on Thursday, episode 502. Later.